Tonight, someone is going to lie to you. Not a big lie, a small one. I'm on my way. I already ate. That looks great on you. And somewhere in the next half second, a part of your brain is going to quietly flag it or quietly miss it completely. You will never know which one just happened. But the real story behind that flicker of doubt is far stranger than crossed arms or shifty eyes. Here's the test nobody tells you about. In 2006, researchers pulled together over 200 experiments where people tried to spot lies in real time, watching strangers, listening to strangers, guessing yes or no. Average accuracy across all of it, 54%. A coin flip gets you 50. Trained judges, police officers, customs agents, ordinary people, none of them beat chance by much. This is not a niche finding. Psychologist Bella DePaulo had already shown something similar 3 years earlier, reviewing over 100 studies on the actual behaviors people think give liars away. Fidgeting, blinking, gaze aversion. None of it held up as a reliable signal. So if humans are this bad at spotting lies, why does courtroom law still lean on a machine invented in 1921 to measure sweat and heart rate? The polygraph has never been reliably admissible in American federal court ever since a 1923 ruling called Fry versus United States threw it out for not being real science. 100 years later, it's still mostly theater. So if the signs don't work, and the machines don't work, what is that flicker of doubt actually running on? The answer isn't in your face. It's in your ancestors' campfire. Picture a group of 30 or 50 people, tens of thousands of years ago. Every meal, every hunt, every childbirth, dependent on trust between people who would know each other for life. In a group that size, a lie wasn't a minor social cost. It could mean losing your share of the kill, your standing, your safety. So a pressure builds, generation after generation, rewarding anyone even slightly better at sensing when something's off. But here's what makes this a true arms race instead of a one-sided skill. The instant humans got sharper at catching liars, lying itself became more valuable if you could get away with it. So deception evolved right alongside detection, sharpening each other for thousands of years, like two blades on the same stone. Neither side ever won for long. Evolutionary biologist Robert Trivers pushed this idea somewhere genuinely uncomfortable. He argued that natural selection didn't just favor better liars, it favored liars who could fool themselves first. Believe your own cover story completely, and there's no tell to catch, no spike in your pulse, because your body isn't fighting a hidden truth. No hesitation, because there's no gap between what you're saying and what you actually believe in that moment. This is, unsettlingly, close to how intelligence agencies have trained deep cover operatives for decades. Not memorize a false identity. Inhabit it until the false identity is simply who you are for as long as the mission requires. Which means the most dangerous liars in human history were never nervous. Nervousness is what amateurs leak when their conscious mind is still wrestling with the story instead of fully living inside it. So what is that flicker of doubt actually catching, if it isn't sweat or eye contact? Researcher Albert Vrij spent decades studying this, and his answer moves the whole question from the body to the sentence. Lying, it turns out, is expensive. Your brain has to invent a false account, keep it internally consistent, remember exactly what you already said, and suppress the true version, all at the same time, in real time. That workload leaks into how people talk. Real memories are messy. They drag in a pointless, irrelevant detail, the color of a stranger's jacket, an unrelated comment someone made in passing. Invented stories tend to come out too clean, too smooth, too well ordered, like a paragraph instead of a memory. Investigators have used this directly. Ask someone to walk through their story backward, out of chronological order, and a rehearsed script often collapses within seconds because reciting forward is easy, but reconstructing from scattered memory in reverse is nearly impossible to fake. There's a deeper layer sitting underneath all of this, and it flips the entire question around. Researcher Timothy Levine calls it truth default theory. His argument, humans were never built to hunt for lies in the first place. We were built to trust by default, automatically, almost instantly. And that isn't a design flaw. In a small ancestral group, most communication really was honest, because everyone answered to everyone, forever. Lying to your neighbor when you'd share a fire with them for the next 30 years was rarely worth the risk. Trusting fast let people cooperate fast, hunt together, raise children together, survive together. That default worked, reliably, for most of human history. And here's the twist inside the twist. That trust default is still fully installed, running right now inside you. But you are not living in a village anymore. You are surrounded by strangers on screens, voices with no face attached, messages from people who will vanish the second the conversation ends and who will never answer for what they said. Bernie Madoff ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history for nearly 2 decades, not because his numbers made sense to the people who checked them, but because trust, once given by people he'd known for years, kept renewing itself automatically, year after year, without anyone re-examining the original decision to believe him. Your instincts were calibrated for eye contact and long memories. Strip both away, and the ancient trust system has almost nothing left to work with. It isn't broken. It is simply operating in a world it was never built for. This is why smart, careful people still fall for scams that seem obvious in hindsight. Not because they're foolish, because the flicker of doubt evolved in a world where lying carried a real, lasting cost. Online, for a stranger you'll never see again, it often carries none at all. So the next time that flicker shows up, forget crossed arms and shifty eyes. Notice instead if a story is a little too tidy, missing the small, irrelevant detail real memory almost always drags along with it. Notice if the timeline survives being told out of order. Notice defensiveness that arrives before anyone has even made an accusation, which is often a rehearsed reaction waiting for its cue. None of this is proof on its own. Even DePaulo's own research is clear that no single behavior works reliably in isolation. But together, watched patiently, they beat a coin flip. You were never a perfect lie detector. Neither was anyone else who ever lived. What you are is something older than judgment itself. A system built by ancestors who never once imagined a phone screen, still quietly trying, in a world it doesn't recognize, to keep you safe in a village that no longer exists. So tonight, when someone tells you a story and something in you hesitates, don't brush it off, and don't panic either. Just notice it. That hesitation isn't random. It arrived before you even knew why, because your brain has been asking this exact question, in one form or another, for 300,000 years, long before you ever showed up to ask it yourself. If this changed how you'll listen to people, even a little, that's exactly what this channel is for. Every video here takes something you do without thinking and traces it back to the ancient reason your brain does it that way. Subscribe if you want the next one, because there's a lot more buried in you than you'd expect. And drop a comment below with the last small lie someone told you